All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lawrence Livermore National Lab's 8th Annual Research SLAM. All right. Good. I was wondering if that was going to be an applause line. I'm glad there's some energy in the room. So, my name is Ted Bauman. I am the lead for the Institutional Postdoc Program, and on behalf of the Academic Engagement Office, we are thrilled to have all of you here with us today. A quick reminder before we start, please silence your cell phones. I see everybody checking their cell phones now. All right, so I'm going to hand the ceremonies over to our two very capable MCs in just a minute. But I want to say a few things about this event, especially to those of you who might be joining us for the first time. The Research SLAM is the Academic Engagement Office's cornerstone event for the postdoc community at the lab. Not only does it give the postdocs an opportunity to showcase their research to a wider audience, but it also helps them develop their science communication skills, specifically the ability to effectively communicate what makes their research both impactful and exciting to non-experts. This is an extremely valuable skill that will serve them well as they go forward in their career. So I'm going to make a pitch right now to any postdoc that's in the audience here. If you haven't participated in the Research SLAM in the past, I encourage you next year to register to participate. Please talk to past participants, including our finalists from this year. I think they'll tell you what a valuable experience that was for them. Let's see. So second, speaking of this year's finalists, this is my first time getting behind the scenes at the Research SLAM, and I have to say that I've really enjoyed seeing the evolution of each of these presentations, from the preliminary rounds to the training sessions to what you're going to see today. Each of these postdocs, both here and in the back, have worked really hard on their scripts, their creative way of framing their research, and their presentation styles. So we at the Academic Engagement Office are extremely proud of all the work they put in over the last several weeks, and we're excited to have you here to hear about their exciting research. Last but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge a few people before we start, and thank goodness you walked back in the room. I was nervous you wasn't going to be here. I want to acknowledge all of the hard work that Michelle Perez-Robles did for organizing this event, and so thank you very much, Michelle. Let's give her a round of applause. We definitely wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for all of the work that she put in. The one other person I want to acknowledge and thank before we go forward, Chris Culp here. I know, surprise, yes. So Chris, I want to thank Chris for all of the contributions she's made to the postdoc community here at the lab. Chris has served in a number of roles that support our postdocs over the years, including the lead for the Institutional Postdoc Program, and I believe you were part of the team that pulled together the first annual Research SLAM. So she's retiring this week or next week? Monday. So anyway, we want to send her off with a big applause. Again, thank you, Chris, for all of your work. All right. Enough of me. This isn't why you're here, to hear me talk. I'm going to hand it over to our MCs and last year's second and third place winners, Adi Prajapati and Weedy Mustopo. All right, come on up.
Thanks so much, Ted.
All right. Good afternoon, Lawrence Livermore. All right. I hope you all are ready for the 2024 LLNL Research SLAM.
Yeah. All right. This is a great turnout. You know, being an MC here is a privilege. This is the 8th edition of Research SLAM. So since 2016, we've had seasoned professionals, public speaking experts, and scientific outreach gurus host this event like brilliantly. But they all said no this year, so you're stuck with us. Hi, I'm Adi. I'm a postdoc from PLS.
And I'm Weedy. I'm a postdoc from the Engineering Directorate. And to start us off, Adi, I want to ask you, how did you become an MC?
Well, it was about 8 years ago. I came to the United States and wanted to be a comedy writer. Secretly, my dream job was to write for Conan O'Brien, the late night show host. But the week after I defended my thesis, he retired the show. Clearly, the writing gig didn't pan out for me, so here I am hosting this year's Research SLAM, which is a pretty sweet gig if you ask me. Yeah.
Yep.
What about you, Edie? What's your relationship with the SLAM?
Yeah, me and the SLAM. Well, last year I just got an email, so I signed up for the SLAM. But let me tell you, the SLAM coaching team, they were fantastic last year, and they helped me to be a super smooth talker. So here I am as your MC today, and this year's SLAM has a theme of Olympics. So hence the medals. We got a gold medal here, silver medal here, and we decided that whoever gets gold is actually the one that just needs more attention. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as the only child of my parents, this is justified. Yeah. We also wanted to be more in line with the theme of the Olympics and wear our favorite Olympic attire from our favorite sports. But apparently, hosting a professional event while wearing a professional Olympic swimming costume is against some HR rules, apparently.
Man, still professional,
Yeah,
but
that's what I was thinking. Anyway, on to the guidelines and scoring. Any postdoc in the calendar year 2024 was eligible to participate for this SLAM. For today's competition, each postdoc will have 3 full minutes to present on why their work is important with a single slide as a reference. Aside from making it easier to explain to their friends, family, and loved ones what it is that they do all day, developing these scientific communications, these skills will help serve them well in future for conference talks, for job openings, job interviews, socializing ideas, and grant writing requests.
and as Adi and I can prove, participating in the Research SLAM can make you immediately excellent at public speaking. And at least 30% more charming and handsome, right?
At least my mom thinks so. Okay, each participant will be scored on the intellectual significance, individual contribution, clarity, delivery, visuals, and engagement.
Now we'll talk about awards and prizes. Cash prizes for the first 3 places will be voted on by our esteemed judges, and you'll get to meet them later. But you all have a chance to vote for the People's Choice Award. So as you entered the auditorium, you should have gotten a ballot. If you didn't get it, you can go back later at the end. And then there are pens out there if you don't have them already. You can pick your choice for the People's Choice Award. And then there will be ballot boxes later. So this People's Choice Award winner will also get a cash prize. But the fun doesn't end today, folks. So the LLNL SLAM is kind of like the first heat in the Research SLAM Olympics. Today's top finalist will go to the 2nd annual National Lab Research SLAM, which will be held in DC. Now, last year they did it in the fall. This year, there's some other kind of voting going on in November, so we've got to move it to spring 2025.
Same choice.
Yep. And the top 3 finishers will go to the Bay Area Research SLAM, where they'll compete with other winners from the other national labs around the Bay Area. So there'll be a great opportunity to learn about what our other postdoc colleagues are up to in the Bay Area.
Right. So before we got to today's event, we had a team of wonderful judges who helped shortlist the 12 amazing finalists that we have for today. A big thank you to the prelim judges, and if you're around, I request you to please stand and wave when I announce your name. We've Ted Bauman from AEO and PLS, Chris Kolk from PLS, Jean-Michel De Nicola from NIF, we have Mariana Reale Batista from PLS, who was also, incidentally, 2 times People's Choice winner in the past SLAM, but you don't get to vote for her tonight. Yeah. And finally, last but not the least, Elizabeth Wheeler from AEO and Engineering.
And now, for today's event, we would like to introduce our distinguished judges. So judges, when we say your name, please stand up and wave your hand so that we know where you are. So first, we have Steve Bolin. Second, we have Pat Falcone. Third, we have Doug Rotman. Fourth, we have Dustin Riggs. And from the University of California, Jun Yu. All right, now it is time to bring out our competitors. Now, this year's cohort has been training hard. They've been pumping iron, getting the reps in. So let's give a big round of applause to the competitors of the 2024 LLNL Research SLAM. Now we'll start with our first presentation from Zbigniew Hupka, who will talk about better, faster, stronger lasers. Now for everyone in the audience, on your mark, get set, pay attention.
You are firefighters facing a raging wildfire. And you have two options. One, you grab a fire hose, spreading water without stopping. Or two, you call for a helicopter carrying a massive water tank that needs time to refill before it comes back again. What's your move? Scientists running experiments face a similar choice. They can either use a laser firing small energy pulses more than 1 million times a second, just like using the fire hose, or they can use a laser delivering a lot of energy within short time, just like the helicopter drop. Each method has its benefits and applications. However, if you want to generate accelerated protons or X-ray pulses, for example, you need to use the high-energy laser. The problem is they cannot fire fast enough. Just like the helicopter that needs time to refill, these lasers need time to cool down between shots to avoid overheating. And this means that people using them have to either settle for limited amount of data with poor statistics, or they have to spend a lot of time and money collecting data over days or sometimes weeks. But this is where I come in. I am helping to design and build a new type of laser that is bringing a third option to the table, delivering the best of both worlds: high energies in short pulses and firing much faster. And the key was to find the right material for the laser's core. The overheating issue is solved by cutting the laser's core into multiple thin slices. These slices are cooled by helium gas rushing around them. And this allows the laser to fire more than 1,000 times faster than the state-of-the-art high-energy lasers currently can. On top of that, our laser's core is highly efficient, cutting down the electricity cost by a factor of 10. And the entire setup is compact enough to fit inside a shipping container. These properties unlock applications like detecting smuggled nuclear materials, faster printing of computer microchips. It could be built inside hospitals to treat tumors through radiation therapy, and it might be the key technology in laser fusion power plants. Short story short, the new type of laser technology I'm working on is like providing you, the firefighters, with an endless parade of water-dropping helicopters, arriving as rapidly as raindrops in a heavy thunderstorm.
All right, what a great start. Thanks so much, Zbigniew. All right, before we go to our next talk, let's take a minute for a trivia question. Once we're done reading the question that shows up on the screen, please raise your hand if you know the answer, and we'll have a microphone come to you. And before you answer, please introduce yourselves so we may know who the winner might be for tonight. We've got a lot of exciting prizes for the audiences for these trivia questions.
All right, so now our first question is related to the Olympics that were held earlier this summer in LLNL. We have a colleague who is a 5-time Olympic trials competitor. Now, what event or events does this person compete in? All right.
All right.
Over there.
Over there.
Have a mic coming your way with the black shirt.
Hi, I'm Anashay from TID. I think the answer is swimming.
Yep.
That
you
is
got
correct.
it. Any? Oh, yep.
There we go. Yeah.
Next slide.
100 meters and 200 meter breaststroke events. Brandon Fisher.
Yep. Very fitting last name.
All right, now we'll pass the baton to Nicholas Matteries, who is convincing qubits to dance the neutrino tango.
Remember the last time you looked out into the night sky? And what did you see? Stars, with different shapes and different sizes. Some are bright and some are dim. But what you didn't see is where those stars are in their life cycle. Some of these stars are in their second act. They've used all of their fuel and collapsed under gravity, forming a compact object. That object then recoils, generating a shock wave, but that shock wave stalls. And it's neutrinos, light, weakly interacting particles, that restart that shock wave, performing a fine dance, leading to the eventual supernova explosion. Now, these neutrinos are three-level systems. They are electron, muon, and tau neutrinos. These are different flavors of neutrinos. They oscillate between these different flavors. They are a quantum mechanical system. At Lawrence Livermore National Lab, we have a long history of using supercomputers to solve grand challenges in science. But even our best supercomputers cannot solve the problem of many neutrinos interacting with each other. Quantum computing can help. Quantum computing uses the properties of superposition and entanglement to solve problems that classical computers can't. Now, we think of quantum computing as either digital or analog. On the digital side, we apply discrete logical gates to qubits, qubits being in 0 or 1, the unit of operation for a specific quantum computer. It can exist in a superposition just like our neutrinos. On the analog side, we apply one gate using continuous time-varying signals. My research focuses on developing new superconducting circuits that provide a specific analog quantum simulator that solves the neutrino-neutrino problem. Now, there are three processes that we want to simulate with our specific simulator. The first is that neutrino oscillation problem. That's the basic step when you learn to dance. The next is energy exchange. That's the push-pull connection that we develop with a new dance partner. And finally, there's the two-flavor swap, exchanging information between different flavors of neutrinos. That's giving my dance partner over here and getting the other one from over here. These three processes combined will then give us information about how neutrinos evolve and how they influence the development of the star life cycle. And if we master these three dance steps, we just might get the next call to the next series of Dancing with the Stars.
All right. Thanks so much, Nicholas. Man, if LA 2028 won't have breakdancing, they should at least put the tango in.
I agree.
So now, before our next presenter, we have another trivia question. Adi?
All right. So Lawrence Livermore recently held a topping off ceremony. What does this ceremony entail? And bonus points for what was the name of the project? Anyone? Oh, that's a tough one.
Yep.
Oh, we got one. Nice.
There, yep. With a dark blue shirt.
Oh, yeah, I think we'll take it. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Historically, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah.
That's great. And sorry, what's your name again?
Tom Smica.
All right.
All right,
Thank
so-
you.
Awesome. Thank you. It's installing the final piece of building's structural component, and it was done for the DICE project recently. Yep. Yeah. That's correct.
All right. So now our next finalist is ready to jump into action. Let's hear from Abhinav Pathak, who's asking, where is my quantum computer?
Imagine if Shakespeare had a cat. That cat may say to be or not to be. But if Schrödinger, the quantum physicist, had a cat, that cat may say, why can't I be both? A quantum cat can be both alive or dead at the same time. Don't worry, no cats were harmed in making of this. Things like this that seem impossible become a reality in the quantum realm. If you take the principles of quantum physics and apply it to making computers, you get a tremendous advantage. Right now, we are using binary bits. Those bits can be either 0 or 1. But if you make something called as a quantum bit, that bit can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. So with just one bit, you can store one piece of information, but with one quantum bit, you can store two pieces of information. That information storage scales really rapidly. With just 300 quantum bits, you can store more information than there are particles in the entire universe. Today, the fastest supercomputer with the largest database can do 1 quintillion calculations a second. That's 1 followed by 18 zeros. A quantum computer with just 300 quantum bits can do quintillion, quintillion, and another quintillion times calculations in a second. That can revolutionize everything. We have processes that use this power to solve one of the most complex problems available to us. But we just have one issue, that the largest quantum computer right now just has 70 quantum bits. That's because making a quantum computer is really difficult. You have to go down to the fundamental building block of matter, which is a single atom, and then you have to isolate it and keep it still. That's a really difficult task. That's where my research comes in. Working at the lab with physicists at the Quantum Center and chemists at the Advanced Manufacturing Lab, I use lasers to carve out the world's tiniest 3D structures out of a liquid that hardens when the laser hits. These tiny 3D structures that are smaller than the width of a human hair, we use to trap atoms and manipulate atoms to make quantum bits. Our processes can be scaled up to have these tiny 3D structures, thousands of them on a single chip, to make the world's first large-scale quantum computer. Our processes and our quantum computers can outperform computers from other companies. For example, Google's quantum computer needs to be cooled down to the coldest temperature in the entire universe. That's a very energy-intensive process, whereas our quantum computers work at room temperature. So I believe that in a few years, with our technology, you'll be able to solve the most complex problems in cybersecurity or nuclear threat reduction. Or maybe you just want to scroll through cat videos on a quantum phone.
All right, that was a great talk. All the best to Abhinav for finding his quantum computer. Yet another opportunity now to earn some prizes for the audience.
All right, so later this month, an LLNL designed public art installation will be publicly celebrated. Now, what does the art installation depict, and where will it be showcased?
Okay, you raised your hand first, so let's go to the gentleman in the middle. Do you want to raise your hand high? Yeah, thank you.
My name is Eric Avalos. The art installation is located at San Ramon at the City Center, Bishop City Center, and it's depicting the NIF ignition.
Okay,
chamber.
we'll take it. That's great. Great answer. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
The answer is bringing star power to Earth, San Ramon's Bishop Ranch. All right, now moving on. Let's now swim through the waves of innovation with our next finalist, Li Wei Chao, who will talk about why we love and hate clouds.
Look up to the sky. The first thing we see is the cloud. Look down from the space to the earth. The first thing we will see is also the clouds. Clouds typically cover 60 to 70% of the planet and have large influence on the energy entering and leaving the Earth. On one hand, clouds can act like a shade, reflecting incoming sunlight, cooling down the planet. On the other hand, clouds can act like a blanket, absorbing the heat emitted from the surface and warming up the planet. The cooling and warming effect compete with each other. What is important is the sum of this effect and how does this effect respond to warming. To answer this question, we need to use global climate models. However, traditional climate models have a low spatial resolution of 100 kilometers, while cloud formation process happen at much smaller scales. So imagine there is a box of 100 kilometers by 100 kilometers, and there could have 10 different clouds developing in one single box at the same time. This means models cannot directly resolve the cloud. Instead, it needs to rely on empirical relationship to approximate the formation of cloud. And this leads to large uncertainty in the estimation of cloud response. To address this, our group have developed a high-resolution model called SCREAM, which have a horizontal resolution of 3 kilometers. To put this into context, imagine a box that I mentioned earlier is now broken down into 1,000 smaller boxes. My study evaluates how well does the SCREAM reproduce the clouds in the observations, and found that the models simulate a realistic spatial structure of total cloud fraction and also reproduce the property of clouds. This provides confidence to further use this model to estimate future warming. In the end, we hate the unpredictability of clouds, which makes clouds the largest source of uncertainty in future climates. But still, we love the cloud because of its beauty that always fascinated us and the complexity that never bored us. And I believe the development of this high-resolution model is an essential step forward to better understanding clouds in the changing climates.
Awesome. That's exactly why we love and hate clouds. So, before we hear the next presenter, we want to bring up to stage an individual very well accustomed to explaining complex science to the rest of us. I want to bring up Chris Miller, who's a former finalist in a previous SLAM. All right, Chris, please come up here. All right, well, so first of all, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And the question we have for you today is, what is the one thing you learned about yourself or your research from participating in the SLAM?
Oh man, one thing I learned. Well, first of all, 3 minutes is a ridiculously short period of time. I know this probably goes without saying, especially to a number of folks, hint, these guys in this audience, but consider what we're asking them to do here, right? Take everything you're excited about, everything complex about your research, and break it down such that anyone can understand it, and you only have 3 minutes, and we give you one slide to do it. We're not giving them a lot to work with, and that is a big burden to ask. I remember when I had to do this, and it was challenging. You had to go through, you had to rehearse, and what this really honed for me in particular was you really come to grips with what you have to say, what message are you trying to get across, what are you trying to communicate effectively, and you really start to think about what is worth your time to say, what is not. And that is a skill that really does stick with you. I can say it has since my transition to staff, whether that's for funding agencies, explaining to your PI how your project's going, maybe some performance evaluation season, maybe that's too on the nose, but really just this communication you can get early in this career is what I learned, and how to effectively take a complex topic and make it accessible to anyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah. All right. Well, never mind. You understand, they told me there'd be 2 questions, those people. They're keeping me on my toes.
To be fair, 2 questions if we had more time. But I think the insights from the 1 question that we got was very valuable. Thank you so much, Chris. All right, so let's now dive into the next brilliant presentation by our next finalist, Jillian McCool, who is racing for a cure, engineering immune cells for improved cancer targeting.
Picture this, a future where cancer patients had fast and reliable treatment options, where families could find hope in therapies that not only efficiently targeted the cancer, but mitigated the risks associated, where treatments were fast, affordable, and available almost instantly. While this sounds like a revolutionary idea, cancer researchers are already paving the way for new and improved treatment therapies. The downside is that many of these therapies face significant challenges, from high cost to low patient safety to efficacy of the treatment overall. Currently, researchers are turning their focus to more personalized types of cancer research called CAR T therapy. CAR T therapy works by altering a patient's immune cells outside of their body so that they can better identify and target cancer cells once back inside the body. These cells are traditionally better, faster, and stronger when it comes to targeting cancer. But the main problem with CAR T therapy is the high likelihood that this treatment will fail. Typically, between 30 and 40% of people who receive CAR T therapy don't fully recover from their cancer. So this is where my cancer therapy research drives into the race. My research is based on altering a specific receptor on the surface of these immune cells that allow them to better target those cancerous conditions. Think of this like changing the tires on your race car to better suit the conditions of the track. My approach differs from current methods in the biological relevancy of our engineering strategy. So think of it like this. In order to make a race car faster, engineers might change the body of their car to be more aerodynamic. I do something similar with my bioengineered immune cells. My research delivers a cancer-targeting molecule to these cells that's encompassed in a natural coating. Not only does this coating allow these cells to continue to function as normally, but keeps that receptor stable, something that current CAR T therapy methods fail to do. So think of it, again, like a race car. If you were to put a Honda Civic's engine into that of an F1 car, you would never win a race. The same goes for cancer patients. By equipping their bodies with the right gear to turbocharge their race cars, not only can we increase treatment success, but also decrease side effects. This is a winning solution. So my cancer therapy research isn't just about transforming treatment. It's about transforming lives. By harnessing the power of these biologically relevant engineering platforms, we are racing towards a future where cancer treatment is fast, safe, and affordable. Together, we can drive towards a cure, one engineered immune cell at a time.
All right, thanks so much for racing for a cure, Jillian. So, luckily, our next interviewee doesn't have to run a marathon to get here. We have our own Adi Prajapati. So, Adi, the question I have for you today is, what did you do with the prize winnings from the SLAM?
That's a good question. I just noticed my photo here, and I'm wearing the exact same outfit except for the turtleneck. So, oh my God. Okay. But yeah, the question, I was very fortunate to be given the prize money minus tax, and I finally bought my 7th electric guitar. Because I thought getting one more will make me a better guitarist, better musician, and finally kick off my music career. But that was a year ago, and I'm still here.
Yeah, so just need to buy an 8th.
I guess, yeah, you're right. I'm convinced.
So now, related to your Research SLAM experience, what was your secret weapon? Did you have like a perfectly timed joke or a dramatic pause? What was it?
Again, a great question. I'll tell y'all. Are y'all ready? My secret weapon was...
Okay, we're waiting.
Did you get it?
Oh,
did you get it?
A perfectly timed dramatic pause. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I got it. All right. Thanks so much, Adi.
Thank you.
Now, lifting the weight of knowledge, it's Claire Duty's turn to present on how she is exploring the inside of the Earth.
You were probably taught in school that the inside of the Earth is made up of simple, consecutive layers, much like a birthday cake. In reality, the Earth is as complex as your favorite flavor of Ben & Jerry's. But unlike a scoop of ice cream, we can't see what the inside of the Earth is made up of. What we can see on the surface is only 0.001% of Earth's volume. The other 99.999% is the key to accessing Earth's past and its future. So how do we know what the inside of the Earth looks like if we can't see it? We use earthquakes. Earthquake waves collect vast amounts of information on the inside of the Earth as they travel to sensors on Earth's surface. Earthquake waves can tell us about the different densities, different temperatures, and different chemical compositions of the inside of the Earth. Understanding the inside of the Earth, in turn, helps us constrain the magnitude and location of these earthquakes. After we've collected data from hundreds of earthquakes across the globe, My group uses supercomputers at the lab to simulate what those earthquake waves would look like if they traveled through a model of the Earth. Thanks to these supercomputers, we can iterate on our models hundreds of more times than previous models. The similarity between our simulated data and the data we collected tells us how accurate our structure is. Thanks to these hundreds of iterations that we run, we produce simulated data that closely resembles our collected data. After we've improved our structure, my job is to analyze what these features mean. For example, sheets of old seafloor pull deep into the Earth, sometimes reaching all the way to Earth's core. The location and properties of these sheets of seafloor can tell us about what the surface of the Earth might have looked like millions of years ago. Closer to the surface, mountains and valleys have roots that extend into the Earth, much like an iceberg floating in the Arctic. Knowing the structure beyond the surface can help scientists accurately forecast the shaking you might feel in an earthquake here in Livermore and beyond. So, even though we can't see it, understanding the caramel swirls and brownie chunks of Earth's ice cream interior are vital to understanding Earth's past and to protect us from danger in the future.
Thank you so much, Claire. All right, Weedy. Now it's your turn on the hot seat, or I guess the hot stage here.
And same shirt, but different jacket.
There we go. All right. All right, so how did you handle your nerves before the presentation? Did you have a ritual?
Yeah, at first I wanted to get some chalk powder and just toss it up in the air like LeBron James, but they told me you couldn't bring any props, so I guess I just came on the stage, went up here, and I just tried to treat it as a privilege because a lot of people are just stuck listening to me for 3 minutes, so yeah, just taking it as a privilege, I guess.
I agree. I like the privilege of attention. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great answer. And of course, the next one, everybody's favorite question, what did you do with your prize money?
Yes, so a previous SLAM winner bought a pair of skis with some of his winnings. So I actually took a page from his notebook and yeah, I also bought a new pair of skis. And I think the rest of the money I just invested because interest rate's kind of high right now.
That is so much more responsible than what I did. All right, moving on. Our next postdoc that will bring the heat to the next heat is Nicholas Cross, who is looking inside batteries to predict failure.
The world is becoming electrified, which means that batteries are everywhere. They've been in your phones and laptops for some time now. Many new cars have them, and soon they may even be powering airplanes. But batteries have this little problem. They are difficult, if not impossible, to take apart, look inside and diagnose any issues, and then put back together again. Think about it. If you have a bad battery, no one says, oh yeah, let's take a look inside. They say, toss it in the trash and get a new one. So as scientists, we need to be able to predict when batteries will fail and understand the mechanisms that cause that failure. And in lithium metal batteries, one form of failure is the formation of what are called dendrites. Dendrites are these little tendrils that reach out from the electrode surface, scavenging for lithium. But if they reach out too far, they will touch the opposite electrode and cause the battery to short circuit or maybe catch fire. And our predictions on when dendrites will form do not align well with the experimental data on when they actually occur. So my job is to build numerical models to increase our ability to predict dendrite formation. And I have found that the key is in the solid electrolyte interphase, or SEI, which is this nanometer thin film the size of a few strands of DNA that covers the surface of the electrode and slowly grows as the battery is used. And the SEI is dense, which means that lithium has a really hard time diffusing through it to get to the electrode surface. And this slow transport can cause dendrites. So I have found that if we include a growing SEI into our model, we can more accurately predict when dendrites will form. But how we include it in our model is important. There are ways that we can do so such that the model aligns well with the experimental data on when we see dendrites form, but completely contradicts the published literature on how we have seen the SEI grow. So I'm working with my computational and experimental colleagues to find a model that both agrees with the experimental data on dendrite formation and aligns well with how we know that the SEI grows. And as a result, we are learning how to better engineer materials and better operate the battery to control solid electrolyte interphase growth and prevent dendrites as a form of catastrophic failure in the next generation of batteries. And this will enable our electric planes, trains, and automobiles to go farther and charge faster. And fewer batteries will be thrown in the trash.
All right, thanks so much, Nicholas. Now I want to SEE inside my batteries. So here's another trivia question.
He just came up with it this morning. The good one. Okay.
All right, let's see how sharp our audience is.
All right. So name the winner of the 2024 Sandia Livermore DOE Mile Run, who was also a participant in the 2016 Research SLAM with a talk titled Asteroid Deflection Consideration. You can also guess the time. Closest time wins. Any guesses?
Number, or we'll bring the mic in.
Oh. No guesses for a number?
Okay.
Okay, that's a good
Got
guess.
6:30 over
6
there.
minutes, 30 seconds. Anybody want to
Wanna go up?
counter?
Okay, Brandon.
All right.
Okay, 4:15.
Oh, now I have to do the math. Who's close? Oh, I think. All right, we'll take
Okay.
one more guess, and then
All
we'll
right.
call it. All right, who
Okay.
said 5 minutes? All right,
All
5
right,
minutes.
in the back.
Oh, in the back? Okay, all right.
The
Okay, you
back
raise the
said it
hand first.
first.
All right, so let's
5
do
minutes.
that. The
All
answer
right.
is 5 minutes, 22 seconds.
All right.
Megan Sayal.
That was fast, so. Man. Adi, I heard you did a half marathon recently. How did that go?
Yeah, as you can see, I am a pinnacle of health. So my goal was not to finish last, and I succeeded. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well done. Well, now let's all get ready for a sprint of insight from our next finalist, Caspar Donison, who is presenting on agriculture and solar power, an unlikely alliance.
Buy land. They're not making any more. These words, attributed to Mark Twain, capture a great challenge of our time. How should we use our finite resource of land? The landscapes today are very different from Mark Twain's era. In fact, there's a battle taking place out there across this country between rural communities and renewable energy developers over the use of farmland for solar power. In the last 5 years, 1/3 of solar power projects have been cancelled and half have been delayed by 6 months or more. The leading cause has been pushback from farmers and rural communities over this use of land. Now, consider the implications of this for the US government's goal of achieving 100% clean power by 2035. We're not yet at 50% clean power, and demand continues to rise. If we're going to meet these demands of land, we need to use it differently. And here's one way that we can. With agrivoltaics, or dual-use solar, a new model that integrates solar panels in the farming landscape. Panels are elevated high to create room underneath for livestock, crops. They're spaced further apart to give room for machinery and nature. These projects are starting to be developed across the country, and we need to understand how they're being received. My research explores the public discussion and debate of these projects in the locations where they're being built. I do this by analyzing hundreds of local newspaper articles, and I can do this to explore the public sentiment. I found that farmers see agrivoltaics as a win-win. It increases their income whilst giving them an ability to continue farm practices. Agrivoltaics are particularly positively received in the hot western states, where they can shield from the beating sun the livestock and farm workers underneath and crops. In fact, farmers in California and Colorado are even finding that agrivoltaics are increasing both the crop yield and the solar power generation. That's a rare example of 1 + 1 equaling greater than 2. It's not all positive. So in some eastern states, there's still a concern about the visual impact of seeing solar panels on the landscape, and the concern that not all forms of agriculture will integrate well. So we need to consider these views going forwards. Mark Twain may have been right. We can't create more land, but we can change how we use it. And agrivoltaics may just be one change that can bring two warring communities together, increase the acceptance rate of solar power projects, and deliver us that clean energy future.
All right, great talk, Caspar. I can now see how agriculture and solar power is the unlikely alliance that we need for meeting the energy and the food demands. Oh, speaking of agriculture and renewable power, here's a trivia question about our city known for its wines and winds.
So, the city of Livermore was named after Robert Livermore in 1869. What country did he become a citizen of after emigrating from England? Yes? We'll bring a mic to you.
We'll bring a mic, yeah.
Yeah. The blue shirt there.
My guess is US.
Mexico? Mexico?
Yep.
Okay,
you're
there
right.
we go. Nice.
All right.
Awesome. Now, next up, skating smoothly to the spotlight is Gina Maria Jeffers, telling us what to do when carbon storage shakes your world.
I have groundbreaking news. We've been trying to save the planet, but one of the technologies we're counting on might be shaking things up. Carbon capture and storage is a promising technology that captures CO2 from factories and power plants and stores it underground. Storing CO2 in the ground could be world-changing and life-saving. So, while it holds great promise in helping us reach climate goals, it comes with side effects. Injecting CO2 changes the pressure within the Earth's crust, leading to earthquakes. The good news is that to date, these are minor and go unnoticed. However, as we scale up these operations, the risk of larger earthquakes occurring in unexpected areas raises significant public concern. In short, we can put CO2 underground, but we risk earthquakes. At Lawrence Livermore National Lab, we are committed to making CO2 storage as safe as possible by actively researching various aspects of CO2 injection. I tackle this challenge by studying earthquakes recorded at CO2 injection sites in the US. The hardest aspect of my job is the inherent unpredictability of earthquakes. We don't know when or where they will occur, or just how large they will be. Because of this unpredictability, the development and application of earthquake forecasting models is crucial. These rely on statistical methods and historical earthquake data, and have primarily been applied to natural earthquakes and those induced by wastewater injection. I have now applied these models to CO2 injection sites and effectively demonstrated the ability to forecast earthquakes there. I also developed short-term forecasts that estimate the likelihood of future earthquakes. This allows tailored management strategies for injection operations, such as to stop injection, to modify injection, or to continue injection as planned. Think of it like a shaken soda can. If you shake it too much, it will explode when opened too soon. By carefully managing CO2 injection based on our forecasts, we allow the system to stabilize, ideally keeping earthquakes minor and unnoticed. My research is vital in reducing risks associated with CO2 injection, ensuring safety, and boosting public confidence as CO2 storage operations expand. Every effort counts towards helping the US meet its decarbonization goals. If we can inject CO2 without causing notable earthquakes, nothing is stopping us.
All right. What a rockin' performance, Gina. Thank you. So now we have another trivia question and another prize.
What is the heaviest element Lawrence Livermore has had a hand in synthesizing? Or you can just give the atomic number. We'll also take that. Any guesses? It's a numbers game.
Okay. Oh, who said 118? All right.
Oh, over there?
All right. Well,
At the back.
All right. That's the right number.
Correct.
Yep.
118. Organocin.
All right. So organocin, and man, how cool. We actually had a hand in synthesizing the original OG elements, so. Now we want to move on to the double digits. Next up, our finalist number 10, with the precision of an archer, Samuel Hedges is catching supernova neutrinos with NEXO.
In the year 1006, the sky suddenly lit up. 7,000 light years from Earth, a star had just collapsed on itself, creating a powerful explosion that we now refer to as a supernova. The light from that supernova, shone brighter than any star ever recorded in the night sky, was visible during the day and even cast its own shadows. And yet, that light is a tiny fraction of the total energy released in a supernova. 99% of that energy is emitted as neutrinos. You may have heard of neutrinos before. They're nearly massless particles that travel very close to the speed of light and rarely interact with anything. In a typical supernova, the number of neutrinos emitted is 10 raised to the 58th power. To put that number in context, there are 10 to the 50th atoms here on Earth, so that's an equivalent of 100 million Earths of neutrinos created over a few seconds. If we can detect these neutrinos, we can gain insight into what's going on inside of the supernova, including information that's unavailable through any other channel. So, how do we catch a supernova neutrino in the act? We need big detectors because of how weakly interacting neutrinos are. We need to put them deep underground to get away from background radiation. And then we need to wait for a supernova. At Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, I'm part of a team of scientists working on an experiment called NEXO. The NEXO detector will contain a massive 5 tons of liquid xenon located 2 kilometers underground, where it plans to collect data for 10 years. These features present NEXO with an incredible opportunity to search for supernova neutrinos. However, there's very little existing work studying what a supernova neutrino interaction with a xenon nucleus actually looks like. And we need to be able to model these interactions if we want to unlock the full potential of NEXO as a supernova neutrino detector. That's where my work comes in. I've combined experimental data with theoretical calculations to predict how often a supernova neutrino will interact with a xenon nucleus inside our detector, what kinds of particles will be produced by this interaction, and then I've simulated those particles to model our detector's response. My work has shown that NEXO will be sensitive to hundreds of nearby supernova candidates, with a range extending out to 20,000 light years from Earth. If we see a neutrino interaction in our detector, we can use our modeled response to find out that neutrino's energy. And with that information, we can begin to peer inside of the collapsing star to see what's going on. If a supernova like the one from 1006 were to occur again today, not only would the sky light up, but so would our deep underground neutrino detectors. Thanks to my work, when the NEXO detector comes online, we'll be ready to start catching supernova neutrinos.
What an intriguing topic. Great job, Sam. If patience were an Olympic sport, NEXO folks would definitely win the gold there. All right, time for another opportunity to win some prizes.
All right. Robert Parker joined LLNL in 1958. His early stockpile stewardship research included studying how materials responded to rapid heating. Now, which beloved product of the 1970s was Parker's patented research applied to? A, lava lamp, B, mood ring, or C, shrinky-dink? Yes.
All right, there we go. One over here. Okay, we'll bring the mic to you. Then we'll just sit in awkward silence.
All right, man, the answer is?
The mood ring?
That is correct.
Yes, you're right.
That was a tough one though, right? But you know what, Vidi? I'd rather have these sweet medals than the mood rings.
Okay, all right, attention, you know.
Okay, I guess. All right, moving on. Our next finalist, Matteo Puccioni, is clearing all the hurdles to educate us on harvesting wind energy with taller turbines.
As you know, mankind is currently struggling with climate change, and I don't have to remind you the catastrophic consequences of this threat if we don't act today. In our lab, facing threats to mankind is our job, and we must come up with a response. Wind energy, for example, is instrumental to reach the decarbonization of the US electric grid by 2035. And a lot of work still has to be done. States like Oklahoma, for example, rely on wind energy for up to 45% of their electricity, whereas this percentage dropped to 7% in Washington and Virginia. Why, you may ask, such a stark difference, and what can we do about it? There is not a simple answer to this question. However, part of the problem lies in the complexity of the terrain. Washington and Virginia feature a whole lot of trees, mountains, and forests, which are obstacles for the wind close to the ground. Well, the US Department of Energy is not satisfied with this answer, and frankly, I believe they're right. In fact, today I will show you that it is possible to develop wind energy over complex terrains. You might have noticed how I mentioned that trees and mountains are obstacles for the wind close to the ground. So my colleagues and I started asking, what if we go above? What if we start harvesting the wind several hundreds of meters away from the trees instead of just right above them? Well, we thought we might not go above mountains, but we certainly can go above trees. That's why in summer 2023, we started the Tall Turbines Project, an experimental campaign aimed at measuring wind speed and direction over forest in Washington and Virginia, based on LiDAR measurements. The LiDAR, acronym of Light Detection and Ranging, is a laser-based instrument just like the one on autonomous vehicles. But when used for wind energy, the LiDAR is able to return wind speed and direction up to 2,000 meters above the ground. Think about it. 2,000 meters of high-resolution wind speed and direction is paramount information to provide the best design of blade aerodynamics for future wind turbines on complex terrain. Finally, I would like you to think beyond about the massive social and economic impact this research can have on the US economy, making this country less dependent on foreign competitors, and finally providing the best response to the climate change.
All right, thank you, Matteo. Now we have a challenging trivia question for the visitors in the crowd.
When did our director, Kim Bedale, join the lab? October 1987, May 91, April 99. Any guesses? Wait, somebody. Oh, there we have. That's close. All right, yeah. That is correct, yeah. Smartest square mile could handle that one. There we go.
So now, to wrap up this very impressive slate of postdocs, we have Karim Youssef, who is racing to the finish line by telling his version of the story, The Rabbit and the Turtle, of data-driven science.
How far did supercomputers and big data really change our lives? What if I tell you that it took 27 years between the Spanish flu outbreak and the production of the first flu vaccine? As you may already remember, COVID vaccine was produced in less than 2 years. What's one big change between 1918 and 2019? It is data-driven science, which utilizes supercomputers to analyze large volumes of data to accelerate scientific breakthrough. But the question is, are we able to utilize supercomputers with their maximum capacity for data-driven science? Not even close. The reason is there is a significant speed gap between data processing and data movement, which involves moving a piece of data from a storage unit across a network to where it would be processed. Can you imagine that we are investing millions of dollars into super fast processors to act like a running rabbit that goes to sleep most of the time, waiting for the data turtle to catch it? In my research, I addressed this speed gap by designing data placement techniques across the multiple data storage layers on a supercomputer. The goal is to organize the data in such a way that when a running program requests a piece of data, it's more likely to find it on the fastest data storage layer, such as a node local disk on the supercomputer. My research also simplifies access and usage of complex and multi-tiered storage systems on modern and future supercomputers using programming interfaces that are easy to use and to integrate with existing data science and scientific computing software. So now we know that data movement in storage is the turtle of our story. Maybe that it inspired the designers of LLNL's exascale supercomputer, El Capitan, or they added a new fast storage layer and named it the rabbits. My research ensures that hopefully those rabbits would not still be beaten by the data movement turtle. Enabling data-driven science to maximize utilization of supercomputers not only provide faster solutions to outbreaking problems such as pandemics, but to preemptively anticipate problems and provide solutions.
All right. Thank you, Karim. And now we have our last trivia question of the day.
Yeah.
Adi.
We all at Livermore, we really love our acronyms. Who wants to take a crack at explaining what FFRDC stands for?
We
already have a hand raised over there.
Far right over there.
Oh, okay.
Federally funded Research and Development Center.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. There we go. Awesome. That's great. Congratulations. All right, so we are nearing the end of our show today. Thank you so much, the finalists. Big round of applause for all of them. Thank you. Yeah, they did a great job here. And as a reminder, the top 3 finalists will advance to the Bay Area Research SLAM happening next week to compete against our colleagues from Berkeley, Sandia, and SLAC. Today's winner will also compete in the second National Lab Research SLAM held in Washington, D.C. in the spring of 2025. Competition and rivalry are what drives the Olympians to give their best. In that vein, we also have some of our friendly rivals from Lawrence Berkeley Lab present among us over here. Let's give a big cheer for Lawrence Livermore to show them our support for our postdocs. Yeah!
All right, so now we'll let our judges leave and do their scoring. And as we let our judges deliberate, here's how to cast your vote for the People's Choice Award. So again, as you entered here, you should have gotten a ballot. If you didn't get it, feel free to grab it on the way out. So now, if you have pens, if you need pens, there's some out there, but you just make a choice for just one person, and then you can drop it off at a ballot box. I believe there's one here by the exit door, and there's also another one if you're exiting through the back door. So there are a couple ballot boxes as you head to the West Cafe for refreshments. Again, there are refreshments, folks, after this in the West Cafe, and that's also where the judges will let us know who the winners are. So this event would not have been possible without the hard work of crucial team members in the AEO. So please give it up for Eric Schwegler, Ted Bauman, Kristen Zacco, Michelle Perez-Robles, and Stephanie Terza. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we have a special request for Michelle. She's deserves the biggest thanks for organizing this entire event. So Michelle, please come down here. There you go. We have flowers for you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for doing all of this.
All right.
She told us yesterday she hates surprises.
And here it is. At least it's a good
How
surprise.
about now, huh? You want to come in? Go. Thank you so much, Michelle, again. All right, on our parting remarks, if you really liked our jokes today, please come say hi, hang out with us in the reception. And also, please let Conan O'Brien know that we are available for freelancing. If you didn't like our jokes, please talk to Brandon Zimmerman over there, who is the MC for the Bay Area Research SLAM from Livermore side. That's happening next week, so yeah. Yay, Brandon. Throwing him under the bus. Yeah, okay. On behalf of the Academic Engagement Office, we, Adi and Vidhi, would like to say thank you so much for coming. Thank you.